David Stearns, you beautiful SOB. You got the job done. How you doing, everybody? It's Wardy here. Spam the W's in the chat. Let's get the Polar Bear Pete hype going. He's back with the New York Metropolitans on the 2-year, $54 million deal with an opt-out after the 2025 season in which he has control, and this being a 2-year or 3-year deal, according to John Heyman there, and has an opt-out after the second year as well, everybody. Pete Alonso has control. The Mets are not inked long term. This is a recipe for success for both sides. They finally get the job done, baby. We talked about this nonsense every single day for the past 2 months now, ever since the Mets landed Juan Soto. Now they bring back Pete Alonso. They got their guy. Their lineup is solidified for the 2025 season, folks, and now we can strap in, get ready for what's going to be an electric spring training. How you doing, everybody? It's Wardy here. Breaking news, come one, come all. Jeff Passan, Mark Feinsand, John Heyman, and everyone in between has been on the news that Polar Bear Pete Alonso is coming back to the New York Metropolitans on a 2-year deal. $54 million there, in which it could be a 3-year deal, which he has control of that happening. Happy it's only 2 years. Absolutely. Guerrero, thank you so much. He absolutely is in play. Connor Lawn, thank you so much for the $2 holla. I greatly appreciate that. And again, I appreciate everyone's patience in advance, folks. I just hopped on after I was just scoffing down dinner, and I had myself a long day, so I apologize if I'm a little out of it in the early goings of this one, folks. But a recap right away. The Mets, it's a 2-year, $54 million deal. $30 million in the first year and an opt-out after year 1. A $10 million signing bonus for Pete Alonso, so pretty much makes it a $40 million deal there for year 1. No deferred money for the Polar Bear. Matthew Martell with the $2 holla. Was it ever in doubt? F in doubt. LFGM incoming 140 RBI season, baby. We got Soto. We got Alonso, baby. Hype me up. I am so pumped up. I cannot wait for this season to get going, everybody. Before we deep dive on more for what this before we deep dive more on what this means for the Mets for the regular season, everybody, continue to spam those W's in the chat. That is what we love to see. And let's get it going. As long as I can pull it up here, we're going to get it going with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. And for people that are unaware, and thank you guys so much for the donations, I'll get to them shortly. We do post-game shows after every single game throughout the regular and postseason for the New York Mets, and we have an awesome post-game jingle made by our guys Greg and Jordan. They know who they are, and I'm going to play the jingle in a second. It's our little celebratory thing that we do here on the platform when big news happens, and the Mets bringing back Pete Alonso is nothing short of fantastic news, especially on the short-term end. Again, just chef's kiss, baby. Let's get into it. Shout out to my guys, Greg and Jordan, once more with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. Bear with me 1 second, everybody, as I make sure I get back looking good in this one. Like I said, folks, I will get to your donations in just a second, but come one, come all, thank you so much for spending some of your day, night, evening, whenever you're watching this. This is your guy, Wardy, and we have a breaking news segment to get into, folks. I have had this live stream preset up in my freaking software for literally 2 months, guys. You have no idea how excited I am to finally use this. Shout out to my guy Jacob, our amazing editor here on the platform, who usually handles our stuff on socials. Make sure to check us out on the WardyNYM on X with roughly 70,000 followers. He helps out with the graphics there. Made the thumbnail a while ago, and I made like 7 different, or not me, Jacob made like 7 different scenarios on what could happen with Alonso. Thankfully, it was the most important scenario of all, so I'm absolutely juiced up. I'm pumped up, folks. And and we're going to deep dive how this Mets lineup now looks as we head into the 2025 season, baby, because this is what they needed. Adding Juan Soto is one thing. It's another now to have a surefire guaranteed 35, 40-plus home run bat, even if it's only for 2025, batting right behind Soto, batting behind Lindor, Nimmo more than likely too. You got Mark Vientos right in the thick of things. You got Alvarez, who's looking for a nice bounce-back season there from the thumb injury and everything that entailed with all the ebbs and flows in 2024. I am amped up about this team now, everybody. This is what they needed. They needed Alonso back. Do I still want another starter? Absolutely. Give me a Dylan Cease or give me a Michael Caine. Give me someone of significance, of substance, and not just of quantity. Again, a Jose Quintana reunion. I wouldn't cry about it, but I certainly am not in love with the idea of it either. Make another pitching move. Maybe I'm asking for too much there, but what I do know is that the Mets solidifying this lineup is massive between their offensive output and their pitching output. They have themselves a very solid lineup and team overall in 2025. They're destined to be one of the better teams in all of the National League on paper as is right now, and just imagine how much better they may get throughout the course of the year with guys blossoming in-house prospect-wise that we haven't really seen break out too much yet, or at least in little snippets, like Luis Angel Acuna when he was called up towards the end of last season, or Brandon Sproat and what he could do if he does in fact get called up the bigs at any point in the first or second half of the year there, and I'm so excited to see what Brandon Sproat could do. Ronnie Mauricio, who I was actually planning on touching on today, and what he shared, what was a little clip of him hanging out there and having some nice practice in Port St. Lucie. I was literally just about to get set to do a video today, and our updates video was going to be titled New York Mets Updates, Mets Alonso Reunion could be hours, if not days, from the quote from Andy Martino. And Andy was true. He said, to pay attention to this one, and he was absolutely right. So shout out to Andy. See what you will. And again, everyone has their respective opinions. No one is absolutely in love with one another, same wavelength, all those types of things. But Andy was on the money with this one, and come to find out literally like an hour after he initially says those things, or a couple hours rather, bam, Pete Alonso is back in the Mets uniform, everybody. So, to reiterate, folks, I want to know, one, how are you feeling about the contract on a scale of 1 to 10? How much do you love it versus maybe not love it? Secondly, with Alonso back now in this Mets lineup, I would love to hear what are your win predictions for the 2025 season for the Mets, because according to Pacoda that we broke down our video yesterday, check it out in case you guys haven't already, folks. And in case you guys don't know me, my name is Tyler Ward, better known as Wardy here on the platform, guys. I'm the host here daily on the platform to over 30,000 amazing Mets fan subscribers that we've been doing this daily the past 4+ years now. I'm a host Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the Bleacher Report app. You guys can check me out there, and I'm a returning guest / contributor with SNY and also New York Post Sports for their respective segments. So thank you guys so much for joining the largest Mets community, fan-built community here on YouTube. But a reel back in, folks, the Pete Alonso contract is very interesting because while I certainly see how Pacoda currently having them out right around, I think, 89 wins or so on the season, 89 wins, 73 losses in that range to come in second out of the National League East, I think by adding a guy like Alonso now, that further pushes up the antes for the Mets to put themselves, if not first in the NL East, but continuing right in that category with the healthy Braves team, should they stay healthy in 2025. I love how this Mets team goes toe-to-toe with the Phillies, even after their positive acquisitions of Jesus Luzardo, among others. These are some strong moves that we've seen across the board in the National League East, including Jurickson Profar going there on a 3-year, $42 million contract and $14 million AAV. But Brandon Alonso on this many years, I think is nothing short of absolute chef's kiss. Jay, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that as well. Guys, over the next couple of days, now that I finally can shut up talking about Alonso, we'll talk about any other moves of significance the Mets can make this offseason. We'll talk about in the coming days. But now I can finally start to focus more on the prospect end of things and things to look forward to each and every day in spring training, because we're going to do a lot of coverage on what the workouts are looking like, player interviews, among other things throughout spring training, up until I attend there myself for a couple of days there around mid-March is what we're looking at, barring changes at this point in time. So be on the lookout, everybody. Thank you again for those donations. I really do appreciate that. CZ, thank you so much for the $10 holla. Thank you. My phone, are you kidding me? My phone just died. Hold on. Okay, let me just address it quick then. CZ, get hype, Wardy 2025. We are here. Shout out to King Cohen. Absolutely, baby. Thank you so much for the donation. Everyone else that donated, don't worry, I will get to your comments. My phone just died on me, so give me one more second. And yes, I do agree. I think the Mets are still one more starter away. I do think that they have a lot of potential with someone like Clay Holmes. I think that they have a lot of potential on the upside, and a healthy Frankie Montas, his second year coming back from his shoulder injury. So I do see the upside, especially with what Desi Driscoll can do. And for those that are unaware, I actually had the pleasure of asking Mr. Carlos Mendoza himself there at the Mets Fan Fest Amazing Day there, the media room with everyone else, Will Salmon and everyone else there in attendance. And I got to ask him, you know, on Brinny and Desi Driscoll and Clay Holmes coming over from the Yankees, rekindling that relationship. He had a great answer, and afterwards, Carlos had mentioned to me that, hey, you're Wardy. Gave me a handshake with a smile on his face. So that was a really, really cool and full circle moment type feeling. But I really want to highlight from that in particular was the Desi Driscoll and Clay Holmes aspect, because I know that Carlos Mendoza really speaks glowingly and looks highly of what you're going to get out of Holmes, who's already there at Port St. Lucie in the early goes of spring training, like a week before pitchers and catchers formally report there, and he's getting ramped up to be able to handle 5, 6, 7 outings consistently, which I'm looking forward to. And now you add in not only the depth and what some of the more interesting arms that you're going to see out of the National League in this mix for the Mets. Yes, I would still like one more, that goes without saying. The bullpen, I like how the bullpen's shaping up right now. And now this lineup can certainly carry this team. That's tremendous, because this offense is a lot more upside than what I did last year. That's saying a lot for the Mets, who had the best offense in baseball for the majority of the summer last season. Moonshadow, thank you so much for the $20 holla. It doesn't matter what the haters think. Pete is back. Pete is in fact back, baby. And I'm so hyped up to say it. Once more, everybody, if you're first chiming in, Pete Alonso back to your New York Metropolitans. It's going to be a 2-year deal there that we're going to see. He's going to be making right around $30 million with $10 million signing bonus there in year 1. And then there's going to be that second-year option per his request there on a player option. And what we're going to see here is that, again, 2 years, $54 million. Now for the 2025 season, Alonso gets a $10 million signing bonus and $20 million salary for 2025. And, pardon me, oh, never mind. So $30 million total if it's $20 million salary and $10 million on the bonus, and then $24 million player option for 2026. He's obviously going to opt out, so Alonso's looking for a bigger, better year than what he had in the regular season this past year. But I think with Juan Soto, with not as much pressure on his shoulders where he doesn't need to opt out, it's his choice, right? And he could still get a big payday a year after that, say after a couple years with the Mets, should he wish. So I think in all, for one, this brings some security for Alonso where he doesn't need to hit the free agent market. That can help him maybe having the less of the monkey on his back, the pressure on his shoulders, while also at the same time allowing the Mets to not having any long-term commitment here, which is going to allow them that flexibility should they want to go out and land a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. next offseason, should they want to go out and land someone else that we're not talking about at this point in time. Again, this allows everything to open up beautifully for this Mets team, and I understand it was a drag. I understand these negotiations were exhausting, but for all the schmucks all offseason long that were like, oh, Alonso's never coming back to the Mets, again, all it took was common sense to put 2 and 2 together that Alonso's always circling back to the Mets. And what does this further prove, everybody? Thank you, David Stern. Say it with me. Thank you, David. I appreciate it, David. We need to stop ignoring like David Stearns doesn't have a significant impact in these negotiations. If this was Billy Epler, he would have folded right away at a 5 or 6 year deal when that is not in the best interest of the organization. In the case of David Stearns, he comes in and he does not blink an eye for a second. We see Scott Boras and Pete Alonso and co. together approach the Mets, approach David Stearns, and say, hey, let's start with a 6-year offer. The Mets say no. All right, let's go to a 5-year offer. No. Let's go to a 4-year offer. No. 3? 3? I mean, we're not going to guarantee you 3, but 3 can be possible. Okay, I guess. And here we have it. Alonso has his choice of a 3-year deal and 2-year deal and opted for the 2nd-year deal. And I actually apologize, everybody. So again, he's going for, I think Jon Heyman meant to say he had his choice of a 3-year deal and a 2-year deal, and Alonso opted for a 2-year deal instead. So I apologize if I misspoke earlier. I think that's Jon Heyman just quickly tweeting when that was in fact not correct. So to reiterate, it's a 2-year contract for Pete Alonso there, not a 3rd-year option or anything like that. It's just 1 year where he's making $30 million, including that $10 million signing bonus, and then that 2nd year player option for 2026 at $24 million. My guy, Dave Kaplitz, the Polar Bear, is finally back. Absolutely, baby. Absolutely. I'm just so happy this finally got done. That's the biggest takeaway right away. This was an exhausting process, not only to witness Steve Cohen, Mets owner, say it himself, but to also have the fan point of view and also the creator point of view and how this entire thing has dragged on for. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus here, everybody. I apologize. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. Sweet. Let's pull this up here. There we go. I'm going to run you guys some Pete Alonso highlights because you deserve it, because the Polar Bear is back. And guys, some fantastic context as to how brilliant of a move this was for the Mets, and then I will get into a lot of your donations from earlier, everybody. Thank you so much again for all of them. It really does mean a lot. But just for some context as to how great this was, and Andres, thank you so much for that donation too. I will get to that here shortly. Is that the Mets were able to bring back Alonso when in a bad year for Alonso. And when I say bad year, Pete Alonso, by all counts, is not a bad player. But last season for the Mets and the 162 for them, he was their 6th best player roughly in their lineup. When it came to runners in scoring position, late and close situations, high leverage situations, Pete Alonso was absolutely dreadful. Far and away the worst numbers in his professional career in the 2024 regular season. We covered every single game last season, just like we will this year on the platform. So join the WardyNYM game if you haven't already, because once we get to 32,000 subscribers for our next short-term goal, we'll be doing another jersey giveaway on the platform, so make sure you guys get in on that. We gave away a Juan Soto jersey on 30,000 subscribers. We gave away a Juan Soto shirt jersey at 31,000. Now we're giving away a random Mets player jersey of whatever player you want that's on the team once we hit 32K. But to reel back in for a second, everybody, Alonso, we saw with our very eyes all the ebbs and flows that he had in the regular season last year. And then when Devin Williams gave him that little bit of a hater going oppo, the first time Devin Williams ever gave up an opposite field home run to a right-handed batter, folks. The first time in his career, just to show you the magnitude of that home run. Alonso made the most of it then, as he did then, recording home runs at back-to-back games of Philadelphia against the Phillies in the LDS. A huge home run against Jack Flaherty in Game 5, dead center in the early goings of the NLCS. And Pete Alonso had himself a tremendous playoff run. And now, building off of that playoff run, now having Juan Soto in your lineup, now having your MVP caliber player in Francisco Lindor ready to go, and now having Mark Vientos having proven himself as one of the better bats in all of the National League, now having hopefully a healthier Brandon Nimmo with a less plantar fasciitis and more of a happy Brandon that's ready to hustle down first base, and now a Francisco Alvarez who's going to be healthy, that thumb's looking good, and he's looking for a 30-plus home run season. How do you not feel electric about what this Mets lineup can do now on the short term, and then the potential long-term commitment either with Alonso should they wish, or go external? It does not mean they can't go after Vladdy, everybody. If anything, this increases the likelihood of it happening. I also apologize if I'm rambling a little bit, but I'm just damn excited to talk about the Polar Bear, as I've been repeating myself time and time again with him on what's going to happen with Alonso for the past month and a half now. Bill L with the $2 holla. Thank you, brother. He says, Stearns, we trust, baby. LGM. Let's go now back to the donations a little bit earlier in the chat, folks. We first got my guy. Oh, let's go just a couple back here. Let's see. I might have missed it. Steve Cohen and David Stearns. Let's see. The best birthday gift ever. RJ, happy birthday, my man. Great member. Really appreciate you. My man, Steve. Hell yeah, Wardy. Let's go. Appreciate you, Steve. Happy to have you in here. Webb's love with the $2 haul. Said Lindor, Soto, Alonso. Best lineup in the NL East. LGM, everybody. NY Mets 1104 says $5 for Wardy was right, Jaro. I appreciate that. Again, a broken clock is right twice a day. Am I right? JJ, thank you so much for the $2 haul. Says, now I can get pumped for spring training, Wardy. Absolutely. Now there is no more, a dark cloud looming over this Mets team heading into Port St. Lucie. No more. Andres with the $2 haul says, okay, people stop talking nonsense about Stearns now, please. I don't know how many more times I need to reiterate that David Stearns is that guy. It's not like he took this Mets team in literally year one as Pobo with a first-year manager all the way to just a couple games shy of the dance, only to lose to the big bad Dodgers after landing Ohtani and Yamamoto. I mean, come on. The team was 11 games below 500. I get it, Jose Iglesias and Lindor were the heavy factors, but still, it's a team effort, and it's a valiant effort by the front office down and making sure they have the right mentality. David Stearns helped with that mentality. Carlos Mendoza certainly helped with that mentality. Our captain, Francisco Lindor, helped lead the way, and now Alonso back in the short term makes this team better than what it was earlier today. Wow, man. I'm just so juiced up. I'm so pumped up about this. I can't wait to talk more on the lineup here in a second, everybody. This is just absolutely electric. Oh my goodness gracious. Wow. Wow. Let's see, Christian, thank you so much for the $2 haul, my man. Christian D'Angelo with the $2 haul. Thank you so much for that. And guys, if you're first shopping in, Pete Alonso, who we have covered on the platform to an entire T for the past month and a half now, is back in a New York Mets uniform here that we see on a 2-year, $54 million deal. And I apologize for saying earlier that was a 3-year deal. I think John Heyman was just saying that Alonso did have on the table a 2- or 3-year option, and he decided to go with the 2-year option. I'm going to double check on X just to make sure that I did not miss any other key details on this. Let's see. The Mets also offered Alonso a 3-year, $71 million deal, but he chose a 2-year deal with higher first-year value. I'm not going to lie. I love that. I am not complaining at all. Seriously. Guys, is it wrong for me to say as a Mets fan, I greatly appreciate the fact that Alonso turned down the Mets at 3 years, $71 million? Like, I'm not complaining. A lot can happen over the next 2 years. You know what I mean? I think that this is another one-and-done year, not in the sense that Alonso can't come back after 2025, but that the Mets won't be reliant, dependent on him coming back heading into 2026. So the fact that he willingly turned down the 3-year offer initially to go for more of this 2-year deal tells us all we need to know. And I do apologize. Obviously, we know that Alonso turned down the 3-year deal. Alonso went all the way from turning down deals after the Mets were initially approached with 6-year deals, 5-year deals, 4-year deals, 3-year deals, and Mets approached with their 3-year offers. So I apologize. That was, I think, more of the old one. That's from a couple weeks ago. But yes, it's true. Alonso, at the end of the day, still turned down the Mets at 3 years, $71 million to make sure he had more of a guaranteed higher rate at $30 million with that $10 million signing bonus in 2025 than what he otherwise would have gone for a slightly lower rate, their 23 mil AAV there or so with the Mets on that 3-year offer. So again, prioritizing how much he can get there in year one, I understand, because if you're Alonso, you are trying to go back in the free agent market. That is one of the greater incentives here. Not to say that he absolutely has to. He could certainly come back to the Mets and opt in even if he has a solid season, but the likelihood of that happening should he stay a Scott Boras client is just slim to none. This is yet again the latest Scott Boras client that found himself in the category of, I'm an above average player, but I'm not Juan Soto. So what does that mean? I'm not going to have teams absolutely bending over backwards for me the way that every team that had a first base need in the free agent market filled it in the free agent market or the trade market one by one, domino by domino. We saw it spick and span just like that. All the Alonso suitors were out of here, and the market was completely shrunk. Any leverage that Alonso and Boras thought they had was quickly gone, diminished. It's out of here. And David Stearns, who again held his hand firm and had that hard line in the sand from the beginning of the offseason, as soon as the Mets were kicked out of the NLCS and no longer in the playoffs thanks to the Dodgers, as upset as that maybe bothered Alonso at the beginning, at the end of the day, this was a relationship that was inevitably going to rekindle. That is why we have alluded to this on the platform for literally going on 2 months now, because of the Blue Jays nonsense. Was never believing again. Really, you think he's going to go to the Toronto Blue Jays? Come on, how many times do we need to play this game, Blue Jays fans? How many times do you need to continue to get played and think that's anything but? We know as Mets fans, we've been played, we've been swindled. It's happened many times, including to an extent George Springer with us because of you guys 3.5, 4 years ago. You know, it's unfortunate now, but the point I'm I'm trying to make is that we see the constant public negotiation circles left and right and this and that and bang and bang and boom. And what is the reality? The reality is that we saw this again to a T. We have seen this with a lot of Scott Boras clients that find themselves again initially eyeing 5 to 7 years, and then bam, before you know it, they find themselves in the category of settling short-term high AV contracts. Not necessarily because they want to, but because Scott Boras forced their hand and pushed them into a market too deep right before spring training or into spring training already, that forces a player's hand on just wanting to make a change, on wanting to make a difference. That is the thing about Scott Boras. I'm really intrigued to see if Pete Alonso is going to keep him as a client or not there, as his agent rather, because for Alonso here, I feel like he certainly lost money. Again, if Alonso wanted more guaranteed money, he could have not only not said no to the Mets with the extension a couple years ago, but he also could have had a more balanced approach with the Mets in the early goings of this offseason. Even if David Stearns was always going to drag this out, I think Alonso could have done a little bit better if things didn't start as drastically opposite as they did, because David Stearns and Steve Cohen really never wavered from what they wanted in terms of Alonso. And that came out with them being the winners in the end. They never wavered from saying, hey, Pete, we'd love to have you back, but we really don't want to go beyond 3 years. So that's where we're at right now. This goes back to their first negotiations, everybody. What, in November, December, whatever it was? You know how long ago that is? It never wavered. So even after all those times that Alonso and Boras kept circling back, all right, listen, we'll go 5. No? Okay. All right, listen, fine. We'll consider 4. Okay, fine, we'll get to 3. And you won't even reach our AAV. It was always a perfect play by David Stearns and Steve Cohen. This is how you play the market, and this is what's going to carry the Mets going forward in negotiations, is to play things like this without going too far where they're overplaying their hand the way that Scott Boras and unfortunately some of his clients in recent years, i.e. Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, and Matt Chapman, have fallen in said category. For the pitcher question, I appreciate that. Jeff, thank you so much for the $2 haul. Jeff says, I feel like I could finally take a deep breath. Absolutely. Dixie Normus with the $5 holla. Thank you so much for that, Dixie. I appreciate you. We got my man Dave Kaplitz in here. Yanks desperate. Carrasco. Yeah, I mean, for all the schmuck Yank fans out there, and you guys know exactly who you are, the few and far in between, right? But all the pain in the neck Yank fans out there who know exactly who they are, let me enlighten you. For being the same guys who are like, oh, always getting the former Yankees or the washed up Yankees, buddy, you just signed cooked Cookie Carrasco. That cookie's been in the oven for 2 hours. It's a hockey puck, my guy. He was absolute batting practice with the meatballs that he's throwing right now. And I love Cookie to death. I love the fact that he was a comeback player of the year with him battling, coming back from cancer as well. I love the Cookie story. I love everything about it. But all the schmuck Yankee fans, again, the nonsensicals, the fair weather fans as well, that don't know more than 5 players on their team outside of Aaron Judge that they think is 3 or 4 of them, I got to tell you, Cookie Carrasco, even minor league piece, is just comical to me because they saw with their very eyes right there how much Cookie was batting practice this past year because he throws meatballs. And sadly, again, he isn't getting any younger. He's like 37, 38 years of age now, if I'm not mistaken. Love Cookie. Wish him well. But yeah, no, that's all I got to say on the Yankees aspect of things. Dave, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. Let's see in here. What about Castillo from Seattle? I love me some Luis Castillo. I mean, that would be chef's kiss if the Mets could get me some Luis Castillo. But I just don't think it's going to happen, right? I think if a Castillo trade was going to happen, it would make more sense for them to have done it because they want to spend more in the offseason, but in a very stubborn and a very small market fashion, headlined by Mr. Jerry Dipoto and the Seattle Mariners, they're just not going to spend. And they're going to head into the season with 3 positions in which last season they had right around a 650 OPS and 3 offensive positions on. Why? Because they're idiots and they're wasting what is a tremendous rotation with nonsensical offense, mediocre offense, below league average offense at times, and they're banking too much on their in-house options to get something done there. Trade away Castillo, bring his ass to Queens, which I would absolutely be in favor of. Free up that $75 million hit over the next 3 years. Take that off your the Mets as the same contract as Nathan Eovaldi. We're all taking Luis Castillo right now over Eovaldi more than likely. A younger, higher upside as well. But just a guy that, again, makes a lot more sense for the Mets, in my opinion, if we would actually see the Mariners show a further willingness to actually go there and to go the lengths of making that kind of deal happen. They just haven't shown the consistency in these trade rumors that have happened with Castillo. It's been more preliminary stuff and more fluff than what we've seen than anything else at this point in time. Swad, thank you so much for the donation, for becoming a member, my man. I really appreciate it. Happy to have you joining the WardyNYM community. Jack with a $5 haul says, I love this effing team. I can finally relax. Let's effing go, baby. You said it, Jack. I love you, baby. I'm not even going in front. You do the best Mets coverage. Robert, thank you kindly for that. I appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much to everyone that's been sticking with me as well. And also, thank you guys already. Please help us by the end of the live show. If you guys can help us get to 1,000 likes, that would really mean a lot. We got north of 2,000 viewers in here. Literally less than half you guys just got to smash that like button for me and help us get to 32,000 subscribers for our next jersey giveaway. We'll be giving away a Mets jersey of whatever player you want currently on the roster, whether that's Juan Soto, whether that's Sean Reed-Foley, whether that is whoever you want currently on the team, folks. We will have you covered there once we hit 32K subscribers. Thank you so much for smashing that like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for the support all off season long. We have hit, again, just like record-breaking numbers over the past half year on the platform. I was saying things up for just how I'm going to be approaching some companies soon, and I'm just looking through a pitch deck, and it really kind of just jaw-dropped me how much success we've had on the platform, not only all winter long, but over the past 6 months. It has really been just mind-boggling how far we have come and how much the consistency has paid off here on the platform over the past 4+ years. Thank you guys so much for making this not only such an enjoyable job every single day, but a hobby that's turned into a job that I have the privilege of doing as my everyday today living, and continuing to live out my fandom as a diehard fan while building an amazing community here on the platform. You guys are absolutely electric. Bobby G, thank you. Bobby, I had no clue, and I'm so sorry I missed it. Thank you so much for gifting the 5 memberships, so that really does mean a lot. Guys, can we please get some love and hype in the chat for my guy Bobby G with the 5 gifted members? For those that don't know gifted members, that means they gifted 5 memberships on the platform, so now those members will get shout-outs by yours truly, will get emojis that they can play with. They still need to update because I'm a schmuck, and they still continue to have an error every time I try to update this one specific one, so I got to spearhead that soon, and you guys get little perks throughout the year in the regular season, our post-game streams, among other things. So again, thank you guys so much for that. Alex Soto with the $5 house says, I'm thrilled that we signed him. Now we can say that our lineup is formidable with Pete back. With Juan, our lineup is strong, and with Pete, much better. Absolutely, my man. Absolutely. Alex, thank you so much for the donation. Swad, thank you so much for the $5 holla. Again, I really appreciate you. Swad or Swade, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, but thank you so much again. Funny at Cook Cookie Carrasco, thank you so much for the donation. Again, nothing personal against Cookie, but yeah, when it comes to Yanks fans and when it comes to, former Yanks and stuff like that, you got to always throw that one out there. Absolutely. Before we continue forward, everybody, I'm going to get something set up here for the live show. Again, thank you so much. Come one, come all. The breaking news, the Mets have got their guy. They have brought in, yes, Pete Alonso is coming back to the New York Metropolitans that we are seeing here on a 2-year, $54 million contract, everybody. You heard it here, folks. And now that Alonso is back, what does this mean for this Mets team? Well, what this means, folks, oh my goodness gracious, are you just guys, can we just talk about how unbelievably gorgeous this Mets lineup is going to be now? Another $10 holla by my newest member. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless. Really appreciate you, my man. Guys, let's get into how amazing this lineup now is for the Mets. So, in no particular order, even though I'm going with some type of order, and I would love to hear from you Mets fans, how you guys feel about this. If you guys are going to continue to be the special the special group that you continue to be, I'm thinking we will try to take some live callers if my software doesn't completely crash on me tonight before ending the live show. I'm going to try to make that happen. I might cut off for my replay viewers so that way it's not too long of a live show, but nonetheless, we're going to try to make that happen. Continue to smash a like and subscribe on. We're going to try to make some live callers happen before we end the live show later on tonight, everybody. But my goodness gracious, this Mets lineup right here, right now, folks, is the following. We're going to see the best out of Pete, guy. I'm telling you. And this further ups the ante, in my opinion, to make something great happen on the front of hopefully a trade for a starter, among other things. I think if you're the Mets, you got to continue to try to do a little bit more here. Be diligent, even if it isn't until spring training already starts. That's perfectly fine. Just try to get something done there. I think that's the best way to go about it. You said it right the first time. Let's see. Swad. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate the donation, brother. Thank you kindly. Again, Valerie, let's go Mets, baby. Again, come on, come all. Smash a like and subscribe on if you're chopping in, folks. Let me see your initial reactions to the news that, yes, the Mets are bringing back the Polar Bear Pete Alonso on a 2-year, $54 million contract, everybody. Man, oh man, am I amped up about that one. Hype me up, baby. Let's get this one going. And before I show you more on that, folks, I just want to show you here for a second, if I can pull this up the way that I want to, folks. Guys, breaking news. We have an official Instagram account. I've been wanting to tell you guys for a minute, so I'm just going to pop this in here for literally 60 seconds tops. Look up NYM Update on Instagram, everybody. My buddy Andrew, who's been doing a fantastic job running this Mets fan-related account for a while, just talking about all the relevant Mets topics that come out throughout the day there from a lot of the other Mets accounts that you see. I'm now partnering with my guy Andrew, so both him and I will be interacting and a part of this Instagram account where we will further promote the platform for WardyNYM on Instagram with over 22,000 amazing Mets fan followers. So check us out at NYM Update on Instagram. Don't be sliding too much into the DMs, you freaks, okay? Let's be respectable and be respectful about this, I should say. But all jokes aside, check me out there. I may change the name eventually too, but for now, we're just going to stick with NYM Update. Look it up, hit it a follow. If you guys want to check me out on Instagram for just some fun daily Mets content there, I'll have some short reactions there throughout the course of the regular season, me going bananas for good or bad reasons, and post-game reactions that Andrew's going to clip them on other things. So be on the lookout there on the Instagram account, and thank you guys so much for doing exactly that. Long time coming. Wardy's finally on Instagram. We got our X account, our personal one at WardyNYM with over 16,000 followers. Our true profile account with roughly 70,000 followers at the WardyNYM on X, and now NYM Update there, the official Mets partnered account on Instagram there with over 22,000. Thank you guys so much for checking that out in case you guys haven't already. And also, apologies for having the intro, but now when I edit whatsoever, now I literally try to minimize your eardrums more than what I already just did there. Josh, great member of 6 months, says, hey, Wardy, do you think Stearns can come to a fair deal for Cease with Padres? I think if it's going to happen, I think it's going to happen more into spring training. Kind of like how Dylan Cease didn't get traded until like March 13th last year. It's similarly to how I see this kind of situation playing out. Not necessarily that I want it to play out that way, but if Cease is going to get traded again, there isn't too much of a rush here for AJ Preller unless there's now just this ridiculous command for Nick Pivetta out of nowhere, right? And I don't think that's the case when we evaluate Nick Pivetta's market, nor do I think there's too much of a rush even with spring training with pitchers and catchers reporting just a week away or so. So that is what I got to say about that. I would love Dylan Cease, but I don't think the Mets are going to give up what it's going to take to land him right now. If you're AJ Preller, why would you give up, again, a ace caliber starter, even as a rental for a team in the division like this, when they could factor into you not making playoffs to say the Mets trump them and the final wild card spot, let's hypothetically say. You know what I mean? Like, I know that he wants to maximize the most value of a rental starter more than anything, but I can also see why you probably want a little bit more of a ransom from a team like the Mets versus maybe some other teams that we've seen across Major League Baseball, especially coming out of the American League, everybody. So, folks, we're at the 50-minute mark of the show, and I can't thank you all enough for continuing to smash that like and subscribe on us as we break down the latest in Mets land. The Mets officially bring back their guy, and Pete Alonso. And as a thank you, folks, I think we're going to do a live caller segment. That feels like the exact thing that we got to do right here, right now. So give me 1 second, everybody, and before we go further.
God, hi, Wardy.
Hell yeah, Gary.
Yeah,
Hype me up. You're pumped up. I'm pumped up, Gary.
Oh my God, what's up, Wardy?
What's good, Gary?
Right,
How are we feeling about Alonso?
All right, so a few things. Number one, finally, they got it done.
Hell yeah.
Finally. We knew it was going to happen, but we didn't know when, and that was the question. And it was like, spring training is starting, Brandon Nimmo's there, pitcher's there, like it's time to get it going, and they finally got it going. Personally, I don't think he's going to opt out of his contract after this year. All eyes are going to be on Soto, not him. But I do have a question for you, Wardy.
Sure.
You step inside the batter's box. Who are you terrified to face?
Like, okay, so who
of all time?
Of all time.
We're talking all time.
Oh my god. So I'm gonna go just based on more of like my personal knowledge of like what I witnessed more from a fan than like history. Because I want to do it more from my personal experience and not just pick, like Randy Johnson right away when I can't comfortably say that I watched him growing up. I'm going to go with probably the one I'd be most terrified to pitch. If I had to say most terrified, I might go with peak Max because of just
Really?
how an insane mother effer he is. Like, he's the type of guy that'll be frothing at the mouth, literally on the mound, calling you every explicit known to man right then and there, and then he's gonna absolutely strike your ass out with a slider. It's not fun. So, like, DeGrom, I think would be the most devastating to face, and like just how unhittable he is. But I think when it comes to true fear, like just getting to the point of even
Yeah.
having it at bat, Max Scherzer would have me shaking in my boots. Peak Max, 2019 Max? No, there's no shot. That's it. No shot. What about you? That's a great question. Who would your pitcher
I
be?
was gonna say I saw Randy Johnson pitch 102 miles an hour over somebody's head the other day.
There you go.
That didn't sound like fun. Um, uh, uh, Pedro Martinez.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good pick.
I mean, his curveballs were fantastic. All of this stuff was so fantastic for so long. I mean, he was just so good for such a dominant time. Of course, Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver, Bob Gibson. But my last question for you is, again, I keep hearing they might trade Marte. They might trade Marte for a pitcher. They might trade him for an infielder. I think I don't think they should trade him. When he came back, he was pretty consistent. I mean, he hit the ball pretty well. If anything, I love McNeil, but I would trade McNeil over Marte.
Right.
But I do like McNeil because he has so much diversity. You could put him in so many different positions, and he can excel in those positions where you need it the most. He can play second, he can play outfield, he can play center. I mean, he has so many different diverse things that he can do, and that's why I think they've kept him all these years, is because of that diversity. And you're not going to find another person that's like that.
So, simple terms as to why the Mets haven't parted with Marte, his contract. As soon as they signed it, knowing that was a 4+ year deal to already a guy in his mid 30s, that it wasn't going to age well, but you were banking on the success with year one and year two with him. The problem is, year one, Mitch Keller ended his season prematurely, or even though he came back in the wild card, it was a little bit of a jolt. It would have been great to have him down the stretch in those final series against the Braves. He really could have been a difference maker for all we know. In hindsight, it is what it is now. 2023 was injury labored all year. The entire lineup was a mess. Marte, the main reason why he's been in trade rumors now at this point, up until this point, has really just been because of the depth the Mets are having in their outfield and knowing that Marte is in a limited role for a guy that's getting paid a decent amount. So they're like, all right, if we're going to have you in a limited role, we wouldn't hate the idea of trading you, eating the majority of your contract in the final year of your deal. And that way we can bring in somewhat of potentially greater value more down the stretch on the bullpen. But now that feels like a lesser likelihood after they've settled with Jesse Winker. If the Mets say did bring in Teoscar Hernandez, Starling Marte becomes 10 times more expendable. If they brought in a true full-time DH like Anthony Santander, the same applies because he bats from the right and left side well, pretty balanced. So the Mets having this platoon role pretty much sets Marte up to be comfortably in that position against lefty pitchers, barring changes, and there will inevitably be changes. Marte will have a streak where he sucks, everyone wants him DFA'd. Then there's going to be stretches where Winker, the same exact thing will apply. Then we're going to be calling for players and coaches' heads early. And like, I see the writing on the wall like every season, even with how talented this team is going to be. We're still going to have those ebbs and flows, but the good thing is that hopefully our lows aren't nearly as low as even what last year's low was, because last year's low still pisses me off, even how they rallied all the way back.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm hoping for a big year. I don't know if they're as good as the Dodgers right now, but I think they're pretty comparable. I mean, you got a lot of stars with a lot of home run power on the Mets right now.
A lot of home run power. And I don't think you should sit here and try to compare the Dodgers lineup on paper, because you're just going to be left frustrated. No one can compete with the Dodgers on paper, but it's not about what you're competing with on paper. It's about what you're going to compete with throughout the course of the 162 and then postseason play. So, Gary, before I let you go, do you have any final key remarks or questions for me? And again, thank you so much for calling in. Always happy to hear very happy Mets fans with Pete Alonso back in Queens. I'm glad I'm not the only one, because this was exhausting, but it makes it all that that much sweeter when it finally gets done and we can just get into spring training now.
Yes, my last comments for you, Wardy, is thank you. Because I speak, I think, for a lot of us where, it's a long season, but it's a long off season too. And
Right.
you're that kind of friend on our YouTube channel where we're driving home, where we're coming home from work, when we're coming home from school. You're that guy to help us get through it. And you're the guy to help us, to give us all the information possible, all the accurate information. So thank you for always being there for us. And we hope to see you at a game.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that, Gary. It's fans like yourself that really make every single day so much more worthwhile than it already is to do what I do. And yeah, so we're hoping to get some fan-related events this year at Citi Field. So should we make that happen? Hopefully I'll see you there, Gary. But again, thank you for calling in. And let's go Mets, baby. I really appreciate it.
Let's go Mets. Let's win a World Series.
Absolutely, Gary. I love it. Oh, the vibes are immaculate. Got
Go
you again
Mets.
for calling in. Let's go Mets, baby. You have a great rest of your night, okay?
You too, all right?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Shout out to Lewis calling in. Shout out to everyone calling in tonight. We really appreciate it, guys. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button on your way out. The Polar Bear himself and Pete Alonso has returned the Mets on a 2-year, $54 million deal. And before I get out of here, I'm going to answer some donations from earlier that I missed. GD with the $5 haul says, we need to get rid of McNeil. Anyone else tired of seeing him? I know a lot of fans have fell in that category. GD with a $5 haul says, I called this a month ago. 2 years, $50 to $55 million deal. Someone give me a job at the clubhouse. Now Cease or Kane, and this will be a stern off-season masterclass. Couldn't agree more, my man. MP, thank you so much for the $5 donation. MP says, Woody, you're the best. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets, Mike. Thank you guys kindly. Really appreciate that, folks. Finally, everybody, out of hearing this schmuck, which is me, talk about the same man every single day for pretty much 2 effing months, we have finally reached the positive conclusion that, as I've alluded to all along, the inevitable reunion at Pete Alonso with the New York Mets, this time on a 2-year deal and not even a 3-year deal. That is going to do it for your guy, Wardy. Thank you all so much for the endless support. I'm really happy that we hammered this offseason. Guys, I'm not trying to brag too much, but we really absolutely hammered our predictions for the majority of the offseason. From Juan Soto, the confidence level early, to Pete Alonso as soon as the saga officially began there. Jesse Winker returning, that I said from the beginning. Sean Manaea, it was going to be one of him or Severino, and I expected Sean between the two. It happened. Ryan Stank reunion. It feels good to be right for the right things. Thank you guys again. Love you all so much. Let's go.